right, everyone. We welcome everyone back to the NCAA Women's Basketball Practice Day press conferences for first-round games from the Frank Irwin Center on the campus of the University of Texas. I will serve as moderator, Barb Koval, and I will be your press conference moderator. And right now, we are joined by Arkansas head coach Mike Neighbors, redshirt senior guard Amber Ramirez, and junior guard Michaela Daniels. Coach, Amber, and Michaela, congratulations on your selection. Welcome to Austin.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Just a few notes to the media in attendance. I know you've heard this earlier, but if you do have questions, please raise your hand for the microphone. State your name and affiliation, and the same goes for those who are joining us virtually, media members that are joining us virtually. If you wish to ask questions, and after an opening statement from Coach Neighbors, we will go to questions for the student athletes first. Then other questions will follow for Coach Neighbors. If you do have questions, please make sure that you use the raised hand function in the Zoom platform, and we will call on you momentarily. Coach, with no further ado, if you'd like to offer us an opening statement.
Great to be back, and great to be back in Texas, back in the NCAA Tournament, back in the Irwin Center where we were at last year, and excited to get the tournament experience started for these two kids and the rest of our team after the last couple of years, A, of not having it, and B, having it under unique circumstances. It's just been so refreshing for these kids to get a chance to see it. We got a lot of young kids back at the hotel that don't know the difference, so we're going to try to keep that from them. I've told these two kids not to tell them too many stories. Let's just experience it for what it is. But it's great to be back here. It's such a historic building for us from Arkansas, with the rivalries going back to the Southwest Conference days. Growing up watching the battles with the Longhorns, Coach Richardson getting tossed out of the game here, then coming back, and U.S. Reed hitting a half-court shot out there. So just a historic place for a historic event to see March Madness on here for our women's game. And I'm just excited that these two kids, y'all called her a red shirt senior? Well, that's what y'all are going with? Okay. We don't know what to call her. She's been around forever. She is. You got it right. But we call her COVID senior. We call her grandma. We call her everything on it. But so excited that Amber Ramirez returned to take advantage of her last year to experience this back here. She's obviously a Texas kid. Great to bring her back home. And then, our next most veteran, I'm not sure if she's going to inherit the title of grandma, but Michaela Daniels has been a leader for ours since her freshman year. So thank y'all for having us. It's good to be back in the tournament and good to be back in Texas.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with questions for the players, and we're going to start with a question from Danielle Lerner from the Houston Chronicle. Danielle?
Thank you. This is for Amber. Coach kind of just touched on you being back in Texas, and obviously you were in your hometown last season, but it was a weird circumstances with limited attendance. So just how exciting is it for you to be here, and are you expecting a lot of friends and family here?
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. How we ended last year is not how we wanted to end, and just getting another chance to come back. Getting to play in front of friends and family is great. I have a lot of friends and family coming out, so I think we're all excited to be back here.
And then for both of you, if you would, just the equity issues that came up last season in San Antonio, how have you seen things change, or have you seen anything change since then? Not just at the NCAA tournament, of course, it's only just started, but just overall with discussions around equity between the men's and the women's game.
I think before we got here, there was a lot of questions asked of what we wanted and what we wanted more of. So they're getting a lot more of our opinions, and I don't think we want the exact same thing. I think we want it to be catered to us, and that's how it should be. It should be different, but fit the needs of each male athletes and female athletes. So we haven't gotten, the NCAA gifts yet, so we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I think it'll be a lot different this year.
Amber, you want to take that question as well?
Oh, no, everything that Michaela said, they're catering to what we want, and I think that's great that they're asking us, what we want and what we want to see in the NCAA tournament. So I feel like that's great for all of the female athletes.
Next question is going to come from Jim Vertuno of the Associated Press. Jim?
Yeah, for the players, I would just follow up on that. When you're asked, what do you want, what do you say? What do you want? What responses have you been given that you hope the NCAA will make for you?
I mean, me personally, I just want stuff that will make me remember the tournament. So if we're getting socks or shirts, like I wanted to say NCAA March Madness 2022, just stuff to remember this tournament, but I don't want it to be something that like anybody can get, because you come to the tournament for the memories, and I just want something that will help me remember this time.
Again, I agree with Michaela.
Well said. Next question, either from Danielle or Jim here. All right, there'll be a follow-up from Jim Fortuno.
Okay, for the players, I mean, the circumstances are different. It's a year later. You're a higher seed or different seating than you were here last year. But what did you take away last year? There was the upset, and it didn't end well here for you. What did you take into the offseason from that moment to get back here on this court this season?
I think some people forget that once the postseason hits, it's a new season. Everybody's 0-0, and Coach Neighbors has been saying that a lot lately, that it doesn't matter what you did in conference. Now you've got your seeding, you got who you're going to play. Everyone's 0-0, so you got to go out there and give it your best, no matter who you think you're playing or how good you think they are. It's a different time, and usually, everyone has that confidence at this time of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's 0-0 to start the NCAA tournament, and I think some things we could take away from last year is like we had a lot of seniors on the team last year, and a lot of them was their last game. So coming out this being my last year, I know like it could be my last game in any of the games. So I think we come out there and just fight. I think that's going to be a big message that we are going to iterate. Just go out there and fight as much as possible. Just play like it's your last game.
We're going to now turn to some questions from the virtual audience that we have, the media members that are joining us virtually. And we'll start with a question from Porter Hayes from Sports and Culture. Porter?
Coach had talked about, just when y'all went to the SEC tournament, how much fun y'all wanted to have, and just the vibe not being cooped up in the setting this year opposed to last year. You're getting to move around freely, and just how much has that helped you prepare for this year's tournament?
Well, to start, we had a great dinner last night. So that's for starters. It's great having the freedom, being able to move freely. In the SEC tournament, we had fun as well. We got to go to different places that we didn't get to do last year. So just having the freedom in the NCAA tournament, I think is great. We're in a great city, so I think we're all going to live it up and have as much fun as we can.
Michaela, do you want to also comment on that?
Just like Amber said, we have a lot more freedom. We went to dinner last night. We get to go to dinner again tonight. We're allowed to see our family. We're allowed to, be in the room with our teammates, socialize a little bit. So we do have a lot more freedom, and it feels like almost back to normal. It's not normal yet, but it's almost back to normal.
Porter, do you have a follow-up question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, then we're going to move to Paul Boyd from the Democrat Gazette. Paul, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, guys. Can you just talk to me about facing a team that plays a whole lot like you? How are you guys able to prepare, and what's that like facing someone who's going to shoot a lot of threes and wants to run up and down the floor?
Okay. It's kind of like preparing for somebody like a Mizzou or like a Creighton that we've already faced before. So I think that helps us in our preparation. And we're just going to continue to do what we do all season and prepare for us and then worry about them as well. And I think we've done a great job of like kind of trying to compare each player to somebody that we've already played before and trying to get a feel of who they are, watching a lot of film. And they do shoot a lot of threes. They do get up and down the floor. So I think that's something that we could prepare for a little bit easier.
Yeah, we've definitely pointed out the similarities between the teams we've played this year, and I think we've also pointed out the differences so that we don't think, oh, well, Creighton did this, so they're going to do that. It's not like that. They're a totally different team. They just have some similarities.
Paul, is there another question that you'd like to ask?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. With that said, we're going to move to Lauren Moses from Bally Sports. One moment. Thank you. All right, Lauren, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. My question's about your freshman of the year for the SEC. Can you talk a little bit about Samara and how she's kind of rose to the occasion especially throughout the season? Obviously, her minutes increased as well, but as teammates and leaders of the team, how have you seen her growth throughout the season?
Sam was probably one of the most confident people I've ever met from the first day she came on campus, and I don't think that confidence has ever wavered. No matter how she's played or what the outcome of the game was, she's one of the most confident people I've ever met, and I think that's took her a long way, especially in SEC, because everyone's good, but she wasn't worried about, oh, this person has this many stars or whatever. She was worried about giving her best every game, and I think that's how she got that award.
Yeah, I agree with Max. Sam stepped on campus with the extreme amount of confidence, and like Max said, it hasn't gone away, and she's going to continue to play with the confidence because we all believe in her, and we want her to do her best that she could. And I'm excited to play for her. Having Mac and Sam as my point guards, I couldn't ask for any better because they do it to the best of their ability, and I love it.
Lauren, is there a follow-up question for the players?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone here have any further questions for our student athletes, Amber or Michaela? Not seeing any. Ladies, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate your answers, and good luck to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
And we'll continue with questions for Coach Neighbors now. Again, a reminder to those on the virtual platform, please make sure to use the raised hand function to ask Coach Neighbors some questions. I see some of you are using that function now, and we'll call on you momentarily. Right now, we'll start with a question from Danielle Lerner of the Houston Chronicle.
Mike, when you saw that you were going to be facing Lynn in the bracket, just what were your thoughts on that and being so familiar with her?
Just really happy for her because we talk early and often about lots of things, basketball and non-basketball related. We've been friends for a long time, so excited that they were in. Not necessarily excited that we have to play each other. I don't like playing people I consider friends, but I'm happy that one of us is going to advance to the second round. I know that for a fact. I've watched them a lot this year. They are fun to watch, the way they put things together. I'm friends with Gavin, their associate head coach as well, and they've got an Arkansas girl on their team. So followed Utah. They're always up on late when I get home, so we've watched a lot of them. But I don't like playing people I talk to on the phone during the year. It's a challenge because you're happy and you're proud for them. At the same time, you're trying to win. So I don't lie about it and tell you it's just any other game. It's not. It's different when you're playing a friend. So, but I'm very happy for her because I know how hard it is to do what she did at Utah. In the Pac-12, it's hard to catch anybody, much less catch enough people to make it to the finals of that tournament. That is such a hard thing to do in that league, and with the success that they've had to get to where they got, the way they got. A young team, she embraced roster management, very similar fashion that we did. Play our young kids, build for the future, and try to be the best you can be at this year too. So I'm really happy for them that it worked out the way it did. And they've faced adversity. They lose a player that's very integral to them late in the year, and they've just kept rolling and kept going. So I admire what they do, and they've been fun to watch more and more on video, but it doesn't make it any more fun.
She also talked about how she really revamped their style of play before this season by diving into analytics and also kind of crowdsourcing some advice from other Pac-12 coaches. But I wonder, you guys have such similar philosophies. Obviously, you talk a lot. Did she, ask you for any input on that? And what do you think of the ways that they've changed?
She never called and asked for anything specific, but there's times in the past that we've talked about to get to that next level. Your offense has to be good. And it has to be diverse. And she uses analytics a lot. And I think it is. I do too. And I do think in our similar situations, us at Arkansas trying to catch a lot of people when we got there, we had to be very mindful of every piece of information that's available. Whether you use it or not, it's up to you. And then whether or not you impart it to your kids that I had sitting to my right is really up to us, which we don't do a lot of. But I'd like to have every piece of information possible at my disposal to make decisions. And you can see in the way that they've played this year, the shot selection has improved. Their shot distribution is right down where it should be. Best players getting the most shots in the right spots. So whether or not she talked about it or said it, if you watch her teams, you know that's being done. You can tell teams that use analytics and build around analytics versus teams that don't, and they're obviously using them and building around them, recruiting to it. And again, I don't know how much longer it's going to last because I think eventually everybody will get there. But I quite frankly think that's one of the reasons they've caught and passed some people. Because I think people have been stubborn and just buried their head in the sand, and maybe because they don't believe in them or understand them for whatever reason, they don't use them as a tool. And I think it allows people like us to catch some people maybe when you don't think that we're supposed to be.
Next question will come from Danny Davis of the Austin American-Statesman. Danny?
First, I'm kind of curious about where this great meal was that y'all.
We went to Papados.
Oh, there
You
you go.
kidding? I know Vince Young's got a restaurant here, and I looked at it, but our kids, they hear Papados, man, their ears perked up. So we killed it out there. We had that place. They just bring us one of everything, and we'll figure out who eats what. But yeah, but our kids are very they're social. They like to be together. That question when they asked about what it was like, they took care of me pretty good because they did everything right. I screwed last year up for the NCAA tournament. You know, we traveled day of game all the way through the year for the last 2 years. And then we get down here and we have to stay in a hotel for 7 days. We went stir crazy. We literally were unprepared to play a basketball game. And, you know, you use the term upset in the 4-13. We weren't on our home floor. I don't look at it. Wright State was a good team. Maybe it was an upset with Las Vegas or whatever, but we were all in the same playing field. And I did a really poor job of having our team prepared to play last time. We hadn't stayed in a hotel all year long because we flew in and out day of game to be able to play, to follow the protocols as stringently as we possibly could. And then we got down here and we were ready to go home. We were ready to go home before we ever picked a ball up, and we played like it. So that was, like I said, they're nice enough not to throw that back at me, but I screwed it up for them and for our team last year. But we didn't make that mistake this year. We were a little bit better prepared. But nonetheless, the experience is starting to you're starting to see little things. We still haven't seen the whole package yet on how different it is, but you can tell there's been changes made in the positive manner.
Kind of going off that, I don't know if freeing is the correct word, but is it better to have kind of a group that doesn't know what this March Madness is about, or would you prefer to kind of go into this month with a veteran?
No, I like the prior. I like them not having blissful naivety or, whatever, however you want to put it. I told Amber and Mac and then the 3 other players that we had that have experienced it not to tell too many stories of what it was like. Don't get in here and go, oh, well, y'all didn't have to, the woe is me. Y'all didn't have to walk uphill both ways to school in the snow like I did mentality. Let these guys experience it and enjoy it. So I'm glad we got a lot of bright-eyed freshmen, first-year freshmen that don't know, that are just here to experience it for the first time. And they'll just hear the stories and we'll never have to live those experiences. But, I want them to tell some things, but not all the stuff.
Next question, Coach, will come from Jim Vertuno
Yep.
of AP.
Talking about freshmen, you've got the Conference Freshman of the Year facing in the Conference Freshman of the Year.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you see in that matchup and what those 2 players bring to this game, yours and theirs.
Yeah, they may end up guarding each other some. I obviously don't know who Lynn will put Nepkins on, but Sam will have her and McQueen both a little bit. So I think it's a product of both of us playing young kids. The SEC was a really old league. I don't know if you looked at the depth, but you had a lot of 6th and 5 and 6 year kids on lots of rosters. I don't know as much about the Pac-12, but the SEC was a very old league. So Sam came in when the opportunity presented itself to get a lot of playing time, and then played very, very well against the best players, in our conference. Some of those being 5 and 6 year seniors. And I know Gina did the same thing for Utah. When you watch it, you can tell that, they're not freshmen anymore. Once they get past that 300-minute mark, they're no longer freshmen. And I think what they mentioned about Sam when they were talking about just the confidence that those 2 players play with, it oozes. You don't have to evaluate that very hard. You can tell the coaches have trust in them, their teammates have trust in them, and then they have the ultimate confidence in themselves. So it's going to be fun to see that. I love the fact that the NCAA put us against Utah as far as matchups wise. I hate it that it's Lynn, but I love that we got two styles of play that are going to be matchup. It's not going to be this contrasting deal. It's going to be, all right, I mean, I would send our scout to her right now, and she'd probably send us their scout. Just save each other a lot of hassle. This is what we're going to do. Best of luck stopping it. Let's get out there and see who does it best. So I think it makes for a really fun matchup. I honestly think they're better than a 7 seed. I think they could have made a case. Their net was really, really high. They've got quality wins. I thought they were probably going to be a 6 seed. I will tell you, they were not even a team that I had on our radar as a potential matchup. We had film pulled on lots of people, but I thought they would be higher, a 6 seed, and I just didn't think would drop to an 11. But I didn't anticipate them being a matchup, but it's going to be a fun one. She said it in a podcast I listened to on the way over here. It could look like a track meet at times. And I already told Vic to get the paint out ready for they may have to repaint the rims between our games if we don't either one shoot it well, because we are definitely going to shoot them. That's for sure.
Before we turn, Coach, to some questions from our virtual media members, anything else from anyone assembled here in Austin? If not, we have a few more minutes for questions for Coach Neighbors. Right now, I see one person with their raised hand. If anyone else on the virtual platform would like to ask Coach Neighbors a question or two, please raise your hand now. We're going to turn to Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture.
Coach, first question, I'll kind of ask you what I've asked the players, just the mindset. How's it been going down there preparing, knowing that you're not cooped up, you're able to go around and have a free practice and go out and have a meal with the kids, and different vibe of last year?
Enjoyable. Just to see them laugh, to see them smile. You know, we've got I've actually got 3 of my 4 kids here. My oldest, Abby, and then the 2 young boys, just them out there watching Sailor and Amber and Bowen throwing rocks, you know, at the fish at Papa Do's out there. That's not what we were supposed to be doing. I think that's what he was doing. Just their interaction. And, you know, last year you just felt like that, I don't know, hall monitor. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't go there, don't be that, don't get back in there. And we were hall monitors standing out there. And so, like, they're such good kids. They're like, Coach, do you care if I go talk to my mom at their hotel? Yeah, go. You know, and it's fun to be able to say yes for a change after being a hall monitor for a couple of years. And when you can't, no. It's, yes, don't even ask me anymore. Just go. Tell me what time you'll be back. You've earned my trust. Go do it. So, Porter, it's night and day difference. I think it makes me a little sad for Chelsea. It makes me a little sad for Mal and those kids, and the kids, you know, that couldn't experience being in the tournament in 2019 that we had qualified for at all, and then having to experience it the way we did. It breaks my heart a little bit for that group of kids, but I'm glad this group of kids has got to experience it.
And I'll follow up with, you're talking about the 2 that, you know, have experienced the tournament, but yet this is the first time that they're all getting to experience this type of tournament. So it's almost like they're all freshmen again as well.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, you can tell a difference in them. You can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their voices. You can see the way they are smiling about it. Last year, it didn't feel like a reward for hard work. You know, it felt like, okay, this is just a continuation of more of this, and we've said we want to play, so we have to play. So let's do whatever it takes to go get tested and walk back and forth and sit around and wait for your results, and then find out if you can play and find out if you got to take a false positives. And to be able to do that for this group is very, very satisfying. And I'm glad that we got back in this thing. It would have been a hard, long summer if we hadn't put together a schedule and played a schedule and then executed, won enough games to get back here. That would have been a really hard thing to have to look Amber in the eye and tell her she's not going to get a chance to experience it. So I think about the kids that haven't, but I'm happy for the kids that are.
And I'll finish up with Amber, you know, getting to play in Austin, you know, right there in Texas, you know, her final year. How much does that mean to you and for her to be able to, you know, go out in Texas?
Well, we tried really, really hard to get her back down here to play home games during the regular season. We just couldn't find any takers. So it's good that we got her back here again for the tournament. When she saw that draw come, we were in the last bracket. So she was like, "Where are we going to go?" I said, "Well, we're probably going to Texas." And I just kind of looked at, she just saw this, this smile come across her face. And then when the announcement came, it was genuine. It was genuine excitement. Seeing her family being able to come back here and not be, she struggled to see, she only had so many people that could get on the pass list last year. And now she's, doesn't have that issue, and is all the people and family and friends and teammates that are still down here make the short drive over from San Antonio to get a chance to see her, hopefully a couple more times.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for those questions, Porter. Any other questions for Coach? If not, we're going to thank you for your time.
You got it.
Wish
Thank
you the
y'all.
best of luck
Appreciate
tomorrow.
y'all covering.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach.